For Monday, September 8th, 2025 to order. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Abelman.
Here.
Commissioner Falk.
Here.
Commissioner Collar.
Here.
Commissioner Kazan.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
And Chair Callahan.
Here. Could I have Commissioner Krazan lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. Could everyone please stand, put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. All right. First off is approve the order of agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the order of agenda.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Blue folder items.
Yes, we have 2 items for you today, both of which are backup and PowerPoint materials for
Okay.
our PowerPoint presentations from their police department and from our Harbor Patrol. We didn't email those to you guys yet, but we will do so after the fact.
Okay. Yeah, I kept looking, thinking they were coming.
Sorry.
Okay. Consent calendar, which is the approval of the affidavit of posting for the meeting and the approval of the minutes for August 11th. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No excluded. Public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. I see no one in the audience from the public. Are there any e-comments?
No e-comments. and no
Anybody in Zoom?
No participants in Zoom.
All right. No ex parte, no public hearings. Items continued from previous agendas and items for discussion prior to action. We have public safety reports.
Yes, we do. So quarterly, as you know, we try to bring back our fire department, our police department, just to kind of go over what's happening from a safety perspective at the waterfront. Tonight, from the police department, we have Sergeant Brian Weiss. You do know him. He has been here before doing reports. But we have had a changeover recently, and there's a new sergeant, Sergeant Bannock, that will eventually be doing this for us. He's our new sergeant at the pier. Unfortunately, he was injured on the job a couple months ago. He still isn't back. We did not want to delay this anymore, so we invited Brian back. So he's going to lead off today and kind of give you some trends that they're seeing out there.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sergeant Brian Weiss. My plan tonight, and they're going to put the stat report up, and then they'll email it to you later so you guys can kind of get down into it granularly. I went through at least the top 5 numbers for you guys, so it makes it a little easier. This is June, July, and August, the stat report that you guys will have. So it's 3 months. 415, so a disturbance call is one of the top 5. 415 disturbance with a transient is another one. Animal is one of our top calls at the pier, and so this is PD altogether. It's so PD animal control. With all the red tide we had over the summer, over the spring, animal calls are pretty big. Any injured birds or animals are going to generate an animal call. Check the welfare calls. Generally, those are going to be attributed to transients, where somebody calls and says, hey, they're down, they don't look like they're doing well. And then parking, and I believe parking is actually the number 1 for the PD. Sergeant Bannock was here up to last week and although working on light duty, so he provided me a little bit of info on calls for service in the pier area. 2024, we had 2,157 calls for service, and he just highlighted a couple things. So crimes against persons in the pier area were 45. Disturbances with transients, and that turned into a mental health hold. We're about 16. They pulled 435 report numbers for the Pier area. So it's 435 different reports, which will kind of be covered in a lot of that. And they made 50 arrests. So that's 2024. 2025 year-to-date calls for service, they're at 734. Crimes against persons are at 25. That disturbance, transients, or mental health holds is at 10. They pulled 190 reports, and they've made 43 arrests. Some of the biggest trends we're seeing right now, there's a lot of graffiti going on in the pier. Public Works is really trying to work hard and get after it. The staffing on the pier hasn't changed with the exception of Sergeant Bannock being out. But the lieutenant who's in charge of the pier has asked all the other lieutenants in the department to ask their guys to go down and spend some little bit more time at the pier. So if they go take a walk, those kind of things. A lot of the graffiti's in the bathrooms, and that's a place that we can patrol, but it's not really effective. Eventually, as we move forward with more cameras and those kind of things on the pier, that will be helpful. For sure, we've caught a couple crimes on the cameras that are on the substation. Those cameras are really great, and dispatch has 24-hour access to them. The other trend we're seeing a lot is transients. At least the pier officers have identified, they know who's who in the zoo. It's not our regular people. And I'm speaking to Lila Omura, she's seeing the same trend where we're seeing a big influx of transients from other areas. Part of it is there's a lot of attraction here. We got good weather, we have generous residents, we have hot meals all over the place. We have that one church that's feeding directly in the pier structure, which brings a lot of them down for the feeding, and generally they disperse, but many of them have not become permanent fixtures. They're just coming through, staying for a couple weeks, and they're moving on. And Lila's doing her best work to get them housed or provide them services. So she's working hard. The pier guys will always call her. And obviously, if you've ever met her or seen her work, she does just an awesome job. So that's all I got. If you guys have questions, I would love to answer them. Yes, ma'am.
What about the e-bike hoodlums that are down terrorizing everybody?
Imagine that.
It's the only thing I can think of to say.
Yeah,
It's a big item on Nextdoor. You know?
I'm really happy that school is back in session. It's the weirdest thing being a cop is learning that when school goes back into session, you have less problems with the youth. I don't think there's any police department around that's done more work with e-bikes, with not only enforcement, with education, with outreach. We recently did 8 bike rodeos over at the annex, and with those bike rodeos, we were certifying the kids so they could bring their e-bikes to school. So they get not only safety, they get a full hour like e-bike presentation, nomenclature, safety, responsibilities, rules of the road, and then they have multiple road course things that they have to do to get certified. They're also provided a free helmet.
Cool. They're not wearing them, but
It's always great when you see the helmet hanging on the handlebar. It's like, oh, you brought it, but you didn't
you
use it. for
scrape
its
up the
intended
brains
purpose.
with it.
We're always going to continue with our outreach. Those bike rodeos, when we partnered with the school district and we had scheduled, it was 50 kids per day for 8 rodeos. And it was very well attended. And it gives us an opportunity to get some face time with the kids. And just, if anything, you've got engaged parents who sign the kids up. And so maybe as we keep going with that enforcement, our traffic division has done multiple enforcement operations where we're sharing the wealth across the South Bay. So El Segundo, Manhattan, and the other beach cities will come together. And then all of those motor officers will come to one city and work a problem. And they went out and did a bunch of enforcement. It's not a problem we can solve through enforcement. We still have some a little bit of grant money left over from a previous thing where we did $5 gift cards for Starbucks. You wear your helmet, you stop at a stop sign. We want to appreciate the good behavior. I think that helps. I think that's a good approach. It's not just all hammer, it's a handshake too. The harbor, I think a lot of the kids, it's, and we've talked about it before, it's back to the fishing kids, right? It's the e-bike kids, hopping fences, being disrespectful. We've got to come together and find a solution to get them to have some equity in the harbor. And maybe instead of the middle finger, they would be more willing to say hi and build those relationships. But their behavior, and as I've always said, if their behavior is horrible, then we need to deal with them. Hopping fences and getting into fights, and they were mooning residents down in the harbor recently.
Do you ever arrest any of them?
Some do. Some for sure go to jail. It's just really tough with the criminal justice system with juveniles. Like, we can't really hold them. They're not going to go to juvenile hall. They're going to get a citation. Mommy and daddy will have to come pick them up, and then.
That's an inconvenience.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and my policy was always, if I had kids that were respectful, then they would go away with a warning. If they weren't respectful with me, then their parents were going to have to come pick them up, and then puts a little bit of equity into the parents thinking, okay, and you're notifying them. I think that's the thing, is a lot of parents just put a kid on a bike and he's going fishing. And they don't realize that he's hopping fences and cussing out adults and damaging people's stuff or stealing people's things. So we've got to come up with a solution for that. And I don't, it's going to keep happening. I don't think there's a stop button for it.
Well, thank you for all the effort. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Ryan, do you have anything?
How does this compare to last year?
It's trending a lot lower, at least, between the crimes against persons and those kind of things, it's trending lower. I'm getting that data from the cops that are working. I left the pier in January, so I haven't really had my finger on, I hear the radio and those kind of things, but they seem to feel that the assaults, the big crimes, the like part one crimes we call them, have reduced. Part of it's their work with ABC and reducing there's a ton of alcohol licenses in the harbor, working with those business owners and making sure that they understand their responsibilities not to overserve. That was always my number one thing for all my service on the pier as a police officer and as a supervisor, was when alcohol was out of control on the pier, crime was out of control on the pier. And almost every major incident that you can think of that happened in the pier, the murder, the shooting, those kind of things, there was alcohol as a contributing factor.
Anything else? Lisa?
I'm good, thank you.
Lee?
Yeah, just one question on pretty much on the fishing kids, but I'm not hearing much lately about thefts off of boats. And I do know we have had issues in the past with kids getting on the docks and fishing off the docks. Has that decreased as well?
The thefts or the
The
fishing?
thefts on both, yeah.
I have not heard of thefts, but the problem like when I speak to Mike Aker, he says, oh yeah, did you hear about this? Somebody lost a fish and pull off a boat. I'm like, no, they didn't call. And we need those opportunities. Yeah. If we're notified, first of all, we can track it. And if it becomes a spike, then we can deal with it. We can fly a drone over the harbor at night. We can do all sorts of things. But if we don't know, so a lot of people just don't report, and that causes problems. I think the fishing, we've had a lot of calls for service on the pier recently for kids fishing in the no fishing zones, kind of like down on the International Boardwalk or right next to the skate park. And they're all young kids. Every group that I've dealt with has been respectful. And even though they're standing next to the sign that says no fishing, the tough thing is all those kids like a certain kind of fishing, and they're all trying to catch bass. And there's only so many places that are good for that. And just standing off the pier where everybody has access, they don't catch anything. And so there's no motivation. So they start trying to find other areas. And I'm trying to point them into other areas where great opportunities are, that it's legal. But I have to have those enforcement opportunities and those contacts. So.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. Leslie?
You just got me thinking about the bike rodeos have been really good. I wonder if there's opportunity next spring, like getting ahead of summer for some sort of, like you said, not just the hammer, but the reward, some sort of like, hey, all the fishing kids, we're having this thing where they can, obviously there's things they should know, not to jump fences, but just, they're not going to read signs, but maybe some education on where you can fish and some of the things that you're seeing to try to help prevent and kind of give a reward that could be
Yeah, I
interesting.
agree. And it's a matter of, I wanted to create a forum. I wanted to create a way to get FaceTime with the fishing kids.
Yeah.
And if it's a club at the high school, if it's something like that, it's just, there's not a lot of traction
Yeah.
with that. I try and encourage the kids to fish the beach because they're less likely to cause any drama there.
Mm.
No, but they're not doing anything illegal. They don't, at their age, they don't need a license. The bait is free. The fishing's great. But access with their bike and everything else becomes a problem. But I would like to have that opportunity if we could have that kind of forum where we could get that FaceTime and just set the standard. Like, don't be disrespectful to adults. Don't break the rules because you start off wrong and then it just circles. And then I get involved and then I'm going to, start the enforcement side. I would love to do it. I know Fish and Game would be willing to jump in. Maybe currently I'm assigned to the community services unit. So all the forward facing events from the PD comes through me. I would love to put together an event. We could partner with the yacht club and Fish and Wildlife and the PD and do an event and come up with something. And we can start the event with some, like, here's the expectations, and then have a fishing day.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think it would be good. And I think we can get some buy-in. And maybe if we do it in the summertime or early, right when they're out of school, we can start the summer off in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just the chaos and we're all begging them to go back to school.
Right. Thank you.
Tom?
Yes, I know, and this is an odd question, I suppose. I'm sure that it would be really, really hard, but does anybody ever get caught after tagging a wall or something somewhere?
Yes and no. I mean, in my 18 years, I've definitely caught a handful, maybe a dozen. It depends on what it is. Like, there was one night I was walking the pier and we were coming around that horseshoe around the skate park, and I could smell spray paint. It was just this heavy spray paint. I'm like, oh, that's a clue.
Yeah.
And so we went over the railing and they were under Kincaid's doing a huge piece. And we arrested 2 guys for that.
Okay.
It is kind of rare, at least, all over the city, we've had a decent amount of the gang graffiti that was going on in the North End and Perry Park. And surveillance video helps. And like I said earlier, once we get more surveillance cameras down the pier, it's helpful if there are locals. If it's some random kid from Whittier or something, and there's no way. It's really just cops being on their beat and, kind
Being
of
at the right place at the right time.
right place in the right time. And I don't know if the system is still in place, but LA County used to have a graffiti system, and it was like a clearinghouse. And so if we could arrest you with your moniker, then we'd put that in the system, and then you were responsible for that moniker countywide. And it got very expensive for some people. Usually the graffiti price, we try and price it at about $7 per square foot damaged.
Okay.
So if you do a big piece, a lot of square footage, you can end up, and with that one, Public Works can't just clean the paint into the ocean, so they've got to recapture, so the prices go up and up and up, and they have to provide a bill. And then those 2 guys ended up not only being convicted of the graffiti trespassing, and then also had to repay the city for the loss.
Wow.
So when we catch them, the system works, but it's hard. If they're writing a little tag that's this big with a marker, I mean, it's 2 or 3 seconds and they're moving on.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Roger?
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Going back to the fishing kids, yeah, we've talked about this. I do know, I think at one point there was a club at the high school. I don't know how
From
active
what
it
I
is.
understand, there isn't
look
one
into that.
now.
Yeah. I can talk to you after this. The yacht club has a fishing club, somewhat active. The one in Marina Del Rey is much more active, and they take kids out. typically on commercial boats where you got more space and insurance and all that stuff. So, that's the way I would look. I do know of a fishing tackle company that has a program for kids that they get a little bit of tackle if they're being good and in school and getting good grades and stuff. So I'll look into that and give you some feedback. That might be an alternative to the $5 Starbucks card for the fishing kids.
Yeah.
Personally, I've seen fewer of them in the dock, but that's just me, one anecdote. And I think it's generally because everybody has their guard up and doesn't let them out. There's also 2 guards on patrol and swing shift now in King Harbor. And as far as I know, all the dock doors are fixed. Right now, every dock door locks, and, a couple months ago, there were 3 or 4 that were always open. So that, that helps. What I have unfortunately seen anecdotally is in the harbor area, in the winter months, in the winter and spring, when things were quieter, fewer people out there, but I'd heard of a couple of assaults. Do you see statistics like that, or do you separate the statistics for harbor area and pier area, or what are you seeing in the harbor area?
Well, they will be in this report.
Yeah, it's just all in one lump here.
Yeah, well, this is just 3 months. There's always going to be some. Anywhere you're going to have bars, you're going to have assaults.
Not bars, on the docks.
Oh, on the docks. I mean, there's some. There was one, just a couple weeks ago that I heard about where a gun was involved and those kind of things. And it was kids and bad behavior and adults. You don't see it a lot just because that community is so small. Like, everybody kind of knows everybody. I don't see it as much. I see it around the bars more than I would see around the docks.
Okay.
For sure.
Do you see any trend around the docks?
No.
How's the trend around the bars this year with Surf Club open and, Cantina being so busy and a lot more people down there in the summer?
I haven't heard of any issues there, but also those places are run really well.
Yeah.
I think the owners are pretty big stakeholders. They've been in business for a while. I haven't heard of any issues there.
I'm kind of hoping the amount of activity helps.
Yeah, well, yeah, just more people down there is
Yeah.
good, but sometimes more people brings more problems. But those places aren't. When Samba was there and they were doing their DJ nights and those kind of things, they were doing club runs and they were bringing in just a crowd from outside the area. And nobody cared about the city, about the parking lot, about anything. And I think with those 2 new businesses or 3 new businesses down there, they're all locals. They're people that have stake in the city. So I think it's better. The car show last year, when I was still down in the pier, there was some issues. There was like one fight, a little bit of drinking, but it wasn't, that's so many locals and stakeholders. So I don't think it's a problem. So far, it's been good. It's nice to see the new businesses down there. They really they did great construction, and it looks 1,000 times better.
Yeah. Finally, going back to transients, like the city says the transient situation's improving, trending downwards, even functionally zero. Are you seeing that trend too? It sounds like it's, more of an issue or trending the wrong way from the way you look at it.
I think, it's a moving issue for sure. And none of these are becoming like permanent Redondo transients. We've always had our regular crew, and Lila's done a really good getting us to functional zero by, housing more than we had. But when you have them, other cities have been known to push them out or dump. Years ago, they would give bus tokens, like, here's a free bus ride, get out of the city. And maybe that's what's going on. Unfortunately, we're kind of attractive in some ways. We are working, I'm the administrator of it at Redondo, but we have a host grant, so it's a homeless outreach grant. And so we have multiple officers every week out working literally nothing but outreach. And it's, can we provide you services? Can I call Lila? Can we get you housed? And we've had some pretty good success stories. We had a guy that literally moved to Washington, ran out of money, and got on a train down here. And his first day in town, he got met by a homeless outreach officer. He accepted help and got housed the same day. So the outreach is working. And when the opportunities and outreach doesn't work, then there's going to be enforcement. The camping ordinance is helping. The beach ordinance is helping. So I think it's all going in the right direction. Lila, literally, I can't say enough good things about her. She is just a one-woman juggernaut with what she gets done.
Thanks, that's it. Thanks a lot for coming down.
Thank you very much for
Thank you,
coming
guys. You have a
in.
great night.
Miss you on the pier.
Yeah, sorry. We'll see you. Take care of yourself. Nice meeting you.
All right, next we're going to invite up our harbor master, Kurt Mahoney. He's going to do the same thing, kind of give you some trends from the Harbor Patrol standpoint.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure the process. Are you able to view my report through your computers?
It should be on
Because
the
I do have
computer.
I printed up some as well, if you'd like. So, you guys good?
Yeah.
Have we got a packet here?
We see what's on there now.
You do see what's on there. Okay, perfect. Someone doesn't, let me know. I've got copies. And I think Commissioner Carlson, from my part, I'm not sure when Bannock is slated to come back to the pier area, but I'd be more than happy to partner with him and do some collaboration and talk behind the scenes as far as having whatever it looks like, an educational piece for the kids that are there, some sort of field trip, if you will, whatever sort of idea or combination, and help work with that as well. So just FYI. So let's see. So I broke it down for just the first half of the year. I've got totals for January through June, with different types of calls that the Harbor Patrol went on. I've got Q1 and Q2. So starting with Q1, in a lot of ways, when we transition to Q2, it's going to look very similar. From a call volume standpoint, it shows it's self-evident. The big three are medical aids, public assists, and Mayday calls for the Harbor Patrol. This is what I would expect. This is the bread and butter of what the Harbor Patrol does. So that's not surprising to me that those numbers are high. I really don't have a reference or an idea of past sea life type calls. But you can see those were quite high as well, and that'll reflect in Q2 as well. I think obviously from the domoic acid issue, we got called quite a bit, or the Harbor Patrol got called quite a bit to dispose of sea lion or seal carcasses within the harbor. So, but there's other, smaller calls that went on during the first part of the year, first half of the year. But those were our three major ones. Again, medical aids, public assist, and the Mayday calls. If there's any questions on any of those, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Since I've been down there, it's an interesting dynamic down there at least from my perspective, coming from working on a fire engine or fire truck for 25 plus years. That may sound self-evident, but the prevention piece of it, we've got a separate prevention bureau within a department, and that was the capacity that I was working in prior to coming down to the harbor for 2 years. Prior to that, I was on the floor working, running 911 calls. And that bureau is dedicated to the prevention of fires, right? The prevention piece at the Harbor Patrol, so I'll go on patrols with them intermittently during the week. And the one thing that stood out to me the most was the interaction with the boating community down there and how they kind of knew everyone for all intents and purposes. So their prevention piece, it's not quantified or qualified within these statistics. There's a lot of things that the Harbor Patrol does on the daily that isn't reflected at all in this. We can certainly build out a program to attempt to capture that. But there's a lot they're just out patrolling, right? And they engage in a conversation with a boater, a stand-up paddle boat, someone that's on a stand-up paddleboard, and having a conversation. And they're seeing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing, or something that looks cattywampus about their boat. Hey, did you recognize or did you know fill in the blank, right? So that's a big piece too of what they do down there, and a piece that I was ignorant to and had no idea about. So just so you're aware, there are things that go on with the Harbor Patrol with regards to education, interaction, trying to prevent things from happening so they don't end up being a call for 911 and their services in an emergency perspective or fashion. So just so you're aware of that. We can kind of advance through that. I put together, again, just so you're aware, quite a few animal rescues. Again, I don't have reference for the prior years, but man, that seemed high to me. But again, with the domoic acid issue, that's not that surprising. Our Harbor Patrol does work closely with Marine Mammal Rescue. They have access to our boat. We try to accommodate them whenever we can. From what I've heard, I don't know this to be fact, but that can be a struggle with other harbors. I don't think whether it's the Harbor Patrol or police, whoever has purview over the harbors, it doesn't sound like getting access to a boat to facilitate whatever it is they need to do happens as often as it does in Redondo Beach. So we value the relationship. We enjoy the relationship. We want to continue that relationship and try and help them manage their mission. So, but that was just interesting to me, the total of sea calls. There were some events I just wanted to make you aware of in the harbor. If we have any of the pictures that are in there, in that.
Is it in the slide?
Yeah. So if you weren't aware, I was out that day when they launched the shark buoy off the coast here with Cal State Long Beach, the Shark Lab. So that was in July. These are two of the young gentlemen that are working on their PhDs currently with Dr. Lowe. And so we had them out there. They were giving us the rundown on that buoy. And so we assisted with that. Again, similar to the marine mammal care folks, we're engaged with Cal State Long Beach. We want to assist them, help them where we can. We are responsible for this buoy as well. So we're in coordination with Dr. Lowe. If there's a big storm event that's due, hey, maybe we need to pull the buoy, get it out of the water so it's not damaged, anything like that. So again, we're always looking for opportunities to partner with other organizations that need access to the greater ocean, pier, harbor area. And if the schedule allows, sans calls, right, then we're out there helping and assisting where we can. So I just snapped some quick pics of the gentleman in the water and getting that thing all set up. So we also recently, we had, annually we do simulated boat fires, if you weren't aware, down in the harbor. So we currently, our training captain, Ben Belante, who's been in that position was created a little over a year ago. That was a focus of his in the spring on his schedule. So I coordinated that with him. This was actually at the end of the evolution. But if you weren't aware, at least once a year, but it's typically more than that, at least once a year, we're down there with the land-based crews, pulling hose with all three shifts, the other two stations. Sometimes we'll get Manhattan Beach or a surrounding agency involved as well. But obviously the pier harbor area creates some special considerations for us. It's not a standard single-family residential structure fire. So a big piece of that is just it's labor intensive, getting hose where we need to at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. So this was down in Basin 1. We actually did a simulation extension into the King Harbor Marine Apartments. So we added some complexity to it. But when there's captain's training coming up, engineer training coming up, and we have new firefighters on, that's part of their probationary task books as well. As if you're an engineer, what's it like to pump the fire down in the harbor area? Where are the hydrants? What's the pressure like down there? What sort of issues, complications, things maybe you hadn't thought of that happen on the daily on the land side can change down in this environment. So, and then the big piece is coordinating with the Harbor Patrol. So we also have LA County lifeguards with their deck gun and fire suppression capability, but really it depends on the situation. But in most instances, the Harbor Patrol is actually a big piece in the coordination of the land-based efforts to get them in the proper place and where they need to go because they know the area so intimately well. So if you weren't aware, that goes on from time to time down there. And then we also had I've had several conversations with members of the various yacht clubs, and what's come up several times is concern, worry, wondering what is the future of those yacht clubs and how do we sustain, grow, bring in, younger members. What's the future look like? So we did get an outreach. It was from a sailing club, local sailing club, Opti. And so the instructor came down with some young kiddos, some future sailors, boaters, and we did a whole afternoon with them. And we showed them, these are our operations, this is what it looks like, these are some things you might want to consider when you're out on the water. So there was a safety element, right? The education piece of it as well. So we love doing stuff like that, having the youngers come down. I train a lot of Girl Scout, Boy Scout troops down at Station 3 in CPR, first aid, if you weren't aware of that. So, and sometimes it sparks interest. Oh, hey, we didn't know there was a station down here, and tell us about the harbor. So that's at least for our part, trying to create some interest with the youngers in the sailing down in the harbor area. And then we did have one minor hazmat cleanup. There was a boat over in Basin 1. It was called in from the marine manager that was listing. The guys got down in the boat. This was in February. The hull was filled with fuel and oil, so they had to do their thing. They were able to contain the spill and hold it there, put out booms. Chad and Brad were on duty that day, so I snapped a couple quick pics, and they were just out there doing their thing. This ultimately, we didn't have to scale it up to, Fish and Game and Coast Guard, and we were able to contain it locally here with booms and handle that, and eventually got the boat towed to the boat yard and had it lifted and disassembled. So these are some things maybe if you weren't aware of that the guys do down in the harbor from time to time as well. So just some special interest stories, if you will. So, but I want to hear any questions that you might have for me, and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability.
Start with Roger this time.
Thanks for coming. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but how do you feel about the fees for responses in some cases? I mean, it makes me nervous to have, the kind of public safety and outreach you do also potentially having fees involved.
Yeah. From my perspective, I'm not seeing, okay, so the fees are instituted August 1st, and I haven't seen any large changes in like call volume. I haven't looked at the actual number subset, but when I'm listening to the radio, like I'm still hearing calls coming in. There's still maydays for assistance. I haven't noticed or aware of people not utilizing our service as a result of the fee, if that makes sense. The big pieces of it are for personnel services. So like, for example, that hazmat spill, right? The owner's gone, like we're gonna start charging you for that, right? And the materials that we utilize for
please.
that, right?
Yeah.
I think probably where you're going is probably like the Mayday call, and I'm in trouble, and like.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how it works and where it comes in.
Yeah, I think for us, those calls are still happening. If you're in trouble, someone witnesses it from the shore, you call in channel 16, you call 911, like we're still going and we're managing that. I think where you might see some changes, and it'll be interesting to see when we do, let's roll the tape forward 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and we're looking at the public assist piece, because that's usually where that lands as far as the boat tow. So just so we're clear, personnel services seem self-evident. The Maydays, like we're still gonna run those calls, right? And that's happening. I think where we might get some pushback is especially with the boat tows. Historically, it seems in a lot of cases, the Harbor Patrol, at least from my perspective, that they provide that service. And they will still continue to provide that service, but now there's gonna be a charge for it. So what I have heard from the guys is they get on scene, someone's motor's puttered out, they're looking for a hand, and they're just like, hey, just to let you know, there's gonna be a charge for this, right? And the pushback or the argument is, well, I don't want to pay for that. I'm either going to find another arrangement, Towboat USA. I'm going to have a friend help me out. So when the guys go out there, though, they don't just arbitrarily leave. Okay, well, it sounds like you're good. Like they evaluate the whole situation. So if it seems like they're going to be in danger, like an hour or two from now, like there's a conversation that takes place, all right? And so that's vetted in the moment. And if it's determined that they're safe, everything's good, they've come up with an alternative plan, they're going to exercise that alternative plan. then they exercise it, and it is what it is, you know? But as far as like the actual Mayday call, I'm not seeing anyone not asking for that due to the charge. So at least in the early stages. But it'll be interesting to see what the numbers reveal going forward and if that tells a story.
Yeah, I was nervous about it, and I expected to hear, complaints and blowback. I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it just hasn't hit enough people yet. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I attended the general meeting, membership meeting for Port Royal, for King Harbor. It's in the newsletter, which you all actually, I'll send out a copy tomorrow morning for the September. We do have the newsletter now on our fire department website on the main page, and this month's these statistics are in here, but the prior month we put out the information that the master fee schedule is being reinstituted, right? At those meetings, there really wasn't a lot of push. There were some grumblings in the back at Port Royal, but we made it clear to them, like, we're not gonna come out, right? We don't want this to be an impetus to you not calling 911. If that's really a strong, like, there's no way I'm paying this bill, let's have a conversation about that, right? And again, just like on the land side, when we're called, like, we show up, like, that's just happening. And usually it's emergent enough that the person that's called, they're in no position anyways to have a conversation about a bill, like, we'll just handle it. And then let's have a conversation on the backside about that. So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And
it does. And I've thought about this a lot. And obviously, like, a house on fire, a rescue, an emergent situation, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But like the little conversations you guys have all day long, I don't want those conversations to stop because I think they help a lot.
Yes.
And there's other situations like, hey, if somebody calls you up and says, oh, there's someone swimming, is the person who makes the call paying? Is the person swimming paying? If there's if I'm calling because there's a sea lion charging me, who gets charged, me or the sea lion?
Yeah. Well, so just so we're clear, so it just covers personnel services. It covers boat tows. It's going to cover submerged vessels. And the fourth category, I'm drawing a blank, it's been a long day, is the storage and impound.
Okay.
So
I thought it was everything. I thought it was practically an hourly rate.
No. So those are just the four incidents. So the vast majority of things that we attend to, like if you look at this chart, it's only covering like a couple of those things. Everything else, we're still doing business as usual without a charge. So there's very specific instances where we're going to charge, and those are the four instances.
Somehow in all this, I had missed that.
Yeah. So, and really, I would imagine, again, we'll see what the numbers bear over time. Let's have a conversation in 6 months. I would guess, if I were a betting person, that the boat tow is the one that will have the most pushback. And could yield the most money, but that's not the objective, right? It's not like this money-making enterprise. It's trying to recoup some costs. So.
And that's always been an odd one here because we don't have a tow service here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people too, and I'm learning a lot as well. This could be submitted through their boater's insurance, right? And costs could be recovered that way. Now, how that'll affect their premiums or what sort of deal they have with their insurance company, I don't know the details or particulars, depends on your insurance. I would imagine an insurance company would at least provide one tow a year if you submitted it as part of their wanting to sell the insurance to the boater. But again, I don't know. So I don't know how over or underutilized people use their boat insurance, but that's available to them, Similarly, like on the land side, we're instituting a medical aid fee now going forward.
I knew that.
But even before we started issuing the fee, I've been on plenty of calls in my career where individuals, now it's not emergent, but their medical issue needs to be addressed, right? They're not having cardiac arrest, but they're having ... And this needs to be taken care of, but it's not like, let's go right now. A lot of times there's individuals that are worried about they don't have insurance or they're with Kaiser. I need to go to this hospital. And similar to what the Harbor Patrol does on the water, we would have a conversation because the situation allowed for it, right? It wasn't emergent. Hey, there's options for you as well, right? So we discuss options, Towboat USA, Friend, or, so those conversations will continue and the education will continue.
Hey, all right, thanks. I feel a lot better about
Yeah,
this.
good.
Somehow I missed that section.
Good.
I've only ever called for a tow once. I was a couple miles outside of Redondo, called Towboat, and they said Marina Del Rey is busy. We'll send San Pedro. They'll be there in 5 hours.
Yeah,
So I
that's
called
the
a friend.
challenge. It can be
Yeah,
a time.
I called a friend and certainly would have called you guys at a reasonable price.
Right, so,
All right, thanks a lot.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I just got curious on boat fires. Those are probably very, very rare, but how often would there be, gasoline involved in them? And when you are doing your practice runs, I would take it you would have to use some kind of weird foam or something on that, right?
Yeah, so the engines are equipped with the foam. So that's part of when we pull, depending on what line we're pulling off the engine, the engineer can establish a foam line and utilize the foam. Yeah, 100%. So that's always a high level suspicion. And usually our main line, our 1 3/4 line on our engines, they're already pre-plumbed with foam because it just helps. We can use less water. It helps suppress the fire a lot quicker. So yeah, that's absolutely a consideration, but it's typically the first sort of line that we pull, if you will. Now getting down to the harbor, a lot of times, and I don't want to get too into weeds of like operations, but it's like 2.5 inch to 1 3/4, and we're pumping it with foam. So we manage all that stuff in real time, right? But if it's determined that there's fuel, of course, we're going to utilize the AFFF or a foam unit or foam line. But that's 95%, that's what we're pulling anyways. So,
Okay.
Yeah. The
Thank you.
fuel is a consideration, but it's not necessarily the determining factor because that just happens automatically, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
that makes sense. All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Leslie?
Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
I wasn't really tracking very well this summer if there were a lot of big gatherings like we had prior years on the water with a boat and a concert and illegal moorings and swimmers all amongst the boats and all. How was that this summer?
So as far as like those specific types of calls, I'm not aware of any like huge concert that was on a boat anywhere down in the harbor. I've heard those have happened in the past.
Right.
But we did have several swimmers in the water. I think it's reflected here, at least in the first half. I don't have the summer statistics. I just have up until June. But when I've been on duty, and I'm Monday through Thursday, 7 to 5, but I'll come down on a Friday, I'll come down on a Saturday, I'll just check things out. What is it like on the weekends, right? That doesn't seem to be like a big trend. Are there swimmers in the harbor? Yeah, from time to time. And either it's some first timer that heard or thinks, oh, I'm gonna go start swimming in the harbor, and they're just unaware. And again, that's where the education piece comes in for us. But I'm not noticing, at least from my perspective, like a big problem or issue specifically around swimmers and concerts, especially concerts. I'm not aware of like a concert on a boat. I heard there was.
Yeah, I wonder if our permitting system
Yeah.
had an effect. Okay,
Yeah, so,
thanks.
yeah.
Ryan, anything for?
I thought you were gonna keep going. I was
No, I started.
I'm all sweaty. I have nothing to do with my job. Thank
I hope
you.
that's not my fault.
Goodness.
Gotta keep you awake.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Lisa?
Good, thank you.
Lee?
I just one question.
Yes, sir.
I think it just happened this last weekend. I saw someone posted on Facebook that somebody was using actually like teaching foiling boards in the harbor. I don't know if you've encountered that or not. And dealt with
I
it.
haven't, just so you're aware, and that's my fault for not making you aware of this. There was a company that's proposing one-man hydrofoil as a rescue system for LA County. They were out recently testing that system and they were out in the harbor doing that. So if I had to guess, that's probably what this person witnessed and posted to Facebook. But I haven't seen like any like large number of hydrofoils, or even for that matter, it was that particular day and they made multiple runs with it, right? Like they were beta testing it. So what does this look like? Help us understand this. Similar to like a drone. All right, what are the applications? How can we use this? So if I had to guess, that's what was going on. But if we were to see a hydrofoil, that's certainly not, I mean, from what I understand, they move through the water at a pretty decent clip. So if they happen to come in the harbor, I would imagine they're going way too fast and we need to get out there and put a stop to that, number one, then educate them as to why that's important to not do that in the harbor. So, yeah. You'll have to forgive me though. Me personally, I'm not a social, I don't do any of that. So if I'm behind the 8 ball on that, it's just, that's not my thing.
And I just, in fact, I just saw it just before this meeting. I go, really? And
Yeah.
it was identified as such, and the person who posted may not have known what it was.
Yeah, that's, and this is personal opinion at this point. That's sort of the unfortunate thing about social media. You can kind of just post whatever, whenever. Well, when did this happen? What exactly did you see? What exactly is this? Is this even our harbor, right? And so it becomes an exercise, and that's one of the reasons I don't use it, because I don't feel like playing detective all the time in my personal life. It's like, okay, because I got a daughter and she's TikTok everything, and we've had a lot of conversations around, well, who is this that posted this? From where? How do you know them? What exactly is this even a real thing, right? So these are the challenges with that. But yeah, to your point, we would keep an eye. If we were to see something like that, we put a stop to it.
Because I know they're becoming more popular. I see them quite a lot at Catalina.
They are, and hence, right?
I've seen them, I think, in like in Alamitos Bay, where
Mission Bay, lots of them.
So popular, they're being considered as a rescue type apparatus for the future. But yeah, we'll see what comes of that. So.
Okay, you done?
I'm done, yes.
Just a couple of things. We've missed you.
Oh.
Number one, you're a wealth of information and we love having you here.
Thank you.
Next is, I love the newsletter.
Yes.
Keep it up.
Okay.
I really like it. And last is, I checked into the Dana Point Flare Day. It was only for residents of
Okay.
Orange County. So
Yeah.
if we could have a flare day, that would be great. Because I
Okay.
know everybody has old, outdated flares they need to get rid of.
I can add something to that if you want.
Yeah, I called.
Oh, Lee
So,
has something.
so I've talked to the person who's affiliated with the Coastal Commission. I forget what her exact title is, she told me about the Flare Day in Dana Point and wanted me to send out all of Southern California. I go, no, I'm not doing that because it's only for Orange County. And, but I did say we need to do these not just county by county, but basically harbor by harbor.
Yeah.
So hopefully she's working on organizing that.
And who is this individual?
Her name is Vivian Matuk.
And what is her, like, what does she do? What is her?
She's hold on, let's see if I can find an email from her.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Lee.
Or, I'll get it to you later.
Yeah, why don't you give me her information? I can reach out to her, because I think and I may be wrong, but I know from a fireworks perspective, like, it's hard to get all the fireworks in Gardena or wherever they're illegal.
Yeah.
Maybe we could partner with like Marina Del Rey and have like a regional type thing, So if it's a cost sharing thing, because you have to, I would imagine, and I don't know for sure, but I would imagine, right, there's the collection piece. You got to pay people to be there to collect it all. How do you dispose of it? I would imagine there's a cost involved with that.
Used to shoot them.
Yeah, so
We actually had the Coast Guard come and
that
show
could
us.
be another option we could explore
was
as
fun.
well. And say,
Yeah.
hey, do you have your cadets or a training evolution where you can utilize that? So I don't know now I don't know when that was. I would imagine
While
like if there's
back.
a safety officer, like where are these flares coming from? What are we doing? So that could create some challenges. But we could certainly ask them and see, hey, is this a possibility? And if so, what would that look like? So, yeah.
Well, thank you once again.
Yeah,
We
you're welcome.
really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, yeah.
Do I have a motion to receive and file our public safety reports?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Come on.
Thanks, Kurt.
Where are we here? I got lost in the presentation. Items from staff. We have our liaisons report.
That would be me, my turn. I don't have much for you tonight, just a couple of updates and dates. Circle the date for September 20th. We have a water polo event happening down at the waterfront. They just got their special event permit. It's a one-day kind of temporary floating water polo I was gonna say track, court. And as far as I know, there's a good 8 teams that are involved, potentially a couple of high schools. Harbor Patrol will, of course, be assisting with the setup and kind of oversight. We've got some lifeguards lined up. Some of the details are still being worked out, but a pretty exciting first-time event for the waterfront. September 23rd, another very important date.
Where in the harbor?
It's right in front of, just south of the hand launch, in front of the new cantina, that kind of area. So they'll enter in off the hand launch and swim over, the participants will. Just right off not the break wall there, but the seawall right there. September 23rd, another very important date. We have our community workshop for the public boat launch. We have gone to the subcommittee twice now, once on August 11th, once just recently on September 3rd. We went through the studies. We went through the options in terms of locations on Moldy. We'll be doing the same for the public on September 23rd. It's at the City Hall Library, 2nd floor, doors open at 5:30. Presentation really gets going around 5:50. Okay. We've got some new leases that were just approved on September 2nd from City Council. First is a new Mexican restaurant called El Cinco de Mayo. It's their 2nd location. They have one on the pier. The 2nd location will locate where El Baja Chef used to be on International Boardwalk. A part of that lease approval was a requirement for new signage, new facade, wood facade, new windows, and new paint. So that whole facade will get an update.
They'll have the same birria though, right?
What's that?
They'll have the same birria though, right?
Hopefully. We also recently extended another office tenant at Pier Plaza, Gung Ho Entertainment. They're kind of an online gaming company. They've been there for years. We just extended them another year. Of course, we're building upon the 4 leases that we approved in August. I made those announcements last time. One was the Deep End Live kind of concert venue, live music venue over at the Landing, just underneath El Torito, as well as the Shoal Brewery and a couple other offices. So month over month, we're continuing to make frontage on our leaseholds. That's it for me tonight. Our next Harbor Commission meeting is scheduled for October 13th. We'll be welcoming in a new commissioner, Jamie Warwick, and we'll also elect a new chair and vice chair at that meeting. And then, finally, it's a bit bittersweet tonight. It is Vicki Callahan's last meeting. It's probably a challenge to sum up 10 years of your tenure here.
But I have 2 paragraphs.
I think
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I think 10 years is probably a record. I don't know for sure, but it's got to be. I mean, you've gone to countless meetings, long nights. You've been instrumental in helping guide, change, and reinvigorate our waterfront. You've kind of seen it all. I think you were telling a story just earlier about your first year or so on the dais, and you got 1,000 pages of environmental analysis.
10,000
pages of environmental analysis. I mean, to jump in with that volume of work is pretty incredible.
Yeah, they came to the house with a dolly and all these boxes and said, "This is for you."
I mean, you saw that project, you saw the lawsuits. I think you've now been on for another 3 years or so where it's light at the end of the tunnel. You're part of the amenities plan, which is a reverse of Center Cal and a different approach. I think you're leaving on a good foot. I think there's going to be a lot of change here in the next 3 to 4 years.
A lot.
So job well done, and I'm going to miss you.
Well, I would like to say a few words. I really enjoyed working on the many issues and projects that encompass the Tidelands, Harbor, and Pier. It was my distinct pleasure to have served these past 10 years under 3 mayors. And Bill, we miss you. I have complete confidence in the sitting commissioners to carry on the rich tradition of serving the interests of all of Redondo Beach when making decisions. I will miss you all. Term limits are good for all. It leaves room for fresh ideas and new energy. I'm proud of the many projects underway and those in the pipeline. I am most proud of the subcommittee process I helped implement in my first year. I hope it remains a useful tool going forward. I've always spoken the truth, have read all the materials, and have only hope for the future of the waterfront and the commission. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Commission member items and future commission agenda topics. Roger, shall we start with you?
Sure, yeah, just one comment maybe of interest for the community. We're starting to have early discussions about the boat parade, the holiday boat parade in December. And something new this year, we're really going to try to involve the south end of the harbor. The turning basin is going to more clearly be the south end of the parade. There's going to be a big viewing station down there. We're going to try to activate it, get some of the commercial boats involved. Just, kind of bring in two ends of the harbor and have a much bigger viewing area. It should really be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Tom?
Nothing for me.
Leslie?
I tried to find the full results before the meeting, but I couldn't. But I mentioned last month the International Outrigger Distance Championships were in Brazil. We had a number of Redondo residents participate and come home with medals. We had several kids from the high school do really well on their team. We had a staff member at the high school. They got third place United States for women's 50s. We had men, women, 60s, just USA came away. And of course, especially the kids from Redondo that went, just a really great experience. So really multi-generational opportunity they had.
Thank you. Lee?
I have nothing.
Lisa?
I have nothing.
Ryan?
I have nothing.
That you will next meeting. All right, if there is no more business to come before the commission, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will move. I'll do a motion to adjourn. You already have me nervous. Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
We are adjourned.